A lot of these women should be locked up because they're sick in the head.
It was really tragic. It was really shocking. It was really hard to take. She died of natural causes in her sleep. She died under 24/7 surveillance in the treatment center. And she passed away. She went to sleep and she just didn't wake up. We forced her to go to treatment. I have a ton of resources.
And I couldn't even raise, I raised $1,500 over a month.
Right.
So I have a huge proven track record.
The accusation was that I killed Amanda for $37,000.
And they're so skinny.
Oh. We lost Lima there for a moment. We'll circle right back. Give it a shot. Lima returned pretty quickly.
So definitely, like, make sure you support the podcast. Wait, one last thing.
Yep.
Amanda's dead. Amanda's dead. And I'm like, the other thing that people are upset about is that Amanda gained weight, you know.
Why would they be upset about that? They're
saying Amanda gained weight under Lima's care. She was really skinny and Lima made her fat and that's why she died. I'm going to start addressing all of this in like little breakdowns on my YouTube channel.
Many months later.
Obviously that hasn't been working out.
Don't give up.
Welcome to BJ Investigates, a show I just created and might never do again. As I mentioned previously, I had never heard of this man before pretty recently, and I got a little bit of a, kind of like a That's So Raven premonition that she would be going on exactly this podcast. It actually wasn't a premonition. A bunch of people came and told me a bunch of different stuff, and we ended up figuring out that's probably what was going on. Like, for example, someone told me, I remember, that Lima was going to be on No Jumper because she had followed No Jumper on Instagram. Now, I never independently confirmed this, but I just stored that memory away in my banks, right? At the time that Dustin Dern did that shitpost edit for Lima's hate video.
Hi guys, I'm Lima, the one you've heard so many wonderful things about, and this is my friend Dustin.
Hey, how's it going? So I'm the one that edited this video together. I tried to keep it funny.
When I put this on, the alien mothership comes into my brain, tells me what to say.
Really hard to make a comment on this stuff.
He had posted the video on his own personal Facebook page, I guess maybe like proud of it or something, I'm not really sure. And he was kind of like, check out the video. And then someone comments below it, I'm not gonna read her name. But she says, I've not heard of your friend or any of this until seeing this post. I Googled her and watched her and read her stuff for nearly 4 hours. There's a lot to take in before watching this. And I really don't think this is the right approach considering the gravity of the situation. And then she puts like a little like emoji. Okay, so Dustin Dern replies and he goes, there's a lot to it, yeah, and I know a lot more than I'm allowed to share yet. But some of the stuff those people are saying is so ridiculous. And this is the approach my friend wanted to take, so I helped her make this video. But we are working on very serious videos that are coming out soon with facts and evidence. Why didn't y'all just lead with that? You had very serious videos with facts and evidence up your sleeve and you released that monstrosity?
Doesn't this look like the stank face? Or is it just me?
She's also done a couple podcasts this week talking about this stuff that are about to come out and are taken more seriously. So way back September 9th, Dustin Dern is saying on Facebook, Lima's gonna be coming on some podcasts. And then someone brought to my attention, she had followed No Jumper and said, it's gonna be No Jumper, I'm telling you. And then what comes to my mind, the first question comes to my mind is, which podcast is she gonna go on? The No Jumper one? Or the, you know, the other one. And I'm like, I mean, listen, I just want to be very clear in this video. I believe that everybody on the world should be able to do whatever they want.
The people that are against me are very liberal. Like, you should be allowed to do anything, you know?
I really do. Anything in the world you want to do, as long as it's not hurting somebody, it's all consenting and all that, good for you. Seriously, I genuinely mean that. That is so cool that they get to do that because, you know, if that's what they want to do. But suffice it to say, it definitely concerns me. She mentions the lawsuit. She mentions all kinds of things. There's an incident regarding a bridge that is very serious and takes some topsy-turvy turns. I will say, the podcast, No Jumper, the channel, it has like 4.8 million subscribers. It's a big channel. So I could see that like maybe she thinks like if you have access to a larger audience, you're taken more seriously, but like it just didn't make sense to me. So then I'm, sitting around the house, minding my own business, making my protest poster for the Danbury, Connecticut trial for Long Island audit, and the video drops. It comes out and it's, Lima in the thumbnail. So it's like an ambiguous emotion on the thumbnail. It's like the basketball in the middle, and then what's his name? People also gave me a lot of crap for not remembering this guy's name. Like, I'm not trying to keep all these Mark, Jamie, Bam, Brandon. It's like a lot of names. This guy's name's Adam, like one of the most common names in the whole world. It's not like distinctively him. Like, I forget the guy's name. I almost call him No Jumper half the day. Anyway, so it's Adam sitting there looking off to the side and Lima looking down, and she seems to be wearing a No Jumper shirt from what I can see.
I went into this interview wanting to be objective and to kind of like, really push you on like, are you really the devil or whatever? But
I thought you were going to be really mean to me.
But I just
That's
really,
why I showed up in a No Jumper shirt.
I know, and that is a very interesting tactic. I'm not sure I've ever had anybody do that before, but respect.
So I'm like, oh God, okay, well, I guess I need to watch this. It's very long. It's an hour and 42 minutes long. And so I'm like, what on earth could they be talking about?
Like, my sisters, I can't help them, and they're getting worse and worse.
So it took me a bit to like get through the whole thing. I didn't watch it all at first. Like, I have stuff to do. Suffice it to say, again, I just don't really know what exactly the PR perspective was from this video, because it's more examples of different versions of the story. It's more contradictions. Oh man, just poor Adam. Like, the way they were both acting in the video, it was almost like they didn't really have a lot of chemistry. So I don't exactly remember, like, it's been a while since I watched it, but the first major thing I remember from it, and I remember thinking like, wow, this is really weird, is that Adam's like sitting there, Lima's sitting there, and they start talking about how they met up or like how this came about, probably predicting that people were gonna have that question. Like, what is going on here? Why is this mental health woman on the hip hop and like Plug Talk guys podcast? Like why, right? And so she says to him something about Mark Leta, the soft white underbelly guy.
My name is Mark Leta, and I produce the videos that you see on my channel, Soft White Underbelly.
Mark gets into people's stories, those living on the fringes, drug addicts, prostitutes, gang members. You shot thousands of videos. You're super prolific.
4,000 so far.
4,000, okay.
I spent most of my career helping wealthy corporations become even wealthier. I wanted to do something that mattered more in the world. Amanda, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? Do you see that you're kind of getting worse and worse every time we speak? You're going to do whatever it takes to get your money for crack. So if your dad and I give you a little bit of cash.
She reached out to the soft white underbelly guy.
You put up an attractive female heroin addict, that'll get a lot of views. So it's all that. And let me just get this straight. The sun and the government will make me extra horny if I have sex with you?
Yeah.
What are you doing tonight?
She reached out to the soft white underbelly guy and says, like, can we, get me on No Jumpers podcast?
You hit me up. You said, do you want to interview the devil?
You know why I said that though, yeah?
Because you've been smeared in the press as the devil?
So Mark, well, first of all, I got canceled, as many people probably know, and I was in total shock of what had happened online. And then I asked Mark, because I'm like, I'm not a very big influencer or anything on the internet. So I asked Mark, I'm like, do you know anyone that would give me a voice in the situation? And I looked up Mark interviews, and I saw that that you interviewed him. Uh-huh. And I asked him to connect me to you. And so Mark reaches out to you and says, hey, do you, Lima's interested in doing a podcast with you or an interview with you. And then I guess your response was I know Lima, the devil reincarnated. And then he calls me.
You think
and he's like,
I said that?
Yeah, that's what Mark said. So then he tells me, he's like, well,
did I really say that?
Yeah, you responded to him in a text message.
Why would I say that? That doesn't sound like something I would say.
Well, that's what people were calling me on the internet.
Let me look at my text with Mark.
Okay. So then Mark tells me, he's like, well, Adam called you the devil. Doesn't look like he's interested in doing a podcast with you.
Oh, I fuck with the devil. This is well known.
But then he was like, but at least he knows who you are.
So Lima's sitting here on the No Jumper podcast now describing that, her recollection of those interactions, and ends up coming out somehow that they didn't know whether it was going to happen, right? Like either Adam didn't know if he was going to do it or like something like that. And Lima was like, and I was mad. I was upset for like 2 days. I was walking around the house upset, and I told my husband, he's scared that I'm going to ruin his reputation.
I can't
So then I
find
emailed,
Mark's number
I
for some
drove
reason.
Ivan, my husband, crazy for like a good 2 days.
But he's a porn star, bleeped out.
I'm like, I can't believe Adam, who, no shade, is a porn star, is worried about me smearing his reputation.
And she said that to his face.
And so then
there
I
it
sent you
is.
that email and I said, hey, do you want to interview the
Okay.
devil?
And it's like, you can have whatever opinions you want about how the man makes his money. I already said my opinion. I don't care. And I think he should be allowed to do what he wants to do. But on video recording, telling the man to his face, how dare you think that I could ruin your reputation because of how, you make your money? Like, I don't know. It was just really weird. It was a weird interaction where she called him the devil, or he called her the devil. He called her the devil. And then they got in a disagreement. Adam had to pull his phone out and read receipts from Mark Leta. It was very awkward and tense to just open up the whole hour and 42-minute long ordeal. And so I'm like, yeah, great start for me. This is golden. Hell yeah. Yeah, Lima accused him of calling her the devil. And he's like, oh, I F's with the devil. And I'm like, what? Why are we talking about the devil? This is weird. The devil it's always coming up. They're always talking about the devil. I don't know. I don't spend nearly as much time thinking about or talking about the devil. Maybe it's just me. I could be the outlier here, to be honest. So yeah, it's a really tense situation in general, like awkward, I would even say. And then the next thing I really remember just offhand is something about the Tylenol comes up, right? And right off the bat, I can tell it's going to be a sympathetic interview to Lima. Because first of all, factually, I've gathered a little bit of evidence, right? According to them, taking them for their word, Mark Leta set this interview up. So it's kind of like a favor interview. And second of all, I could tell that it was going to be a little bit of a softball because before the interview even really gets started, Adam is kind of already agreeing with Lima and saying, yeah, it's ridiculous. I've already watched the videos. My friend had brought these videos to me and I watched them and I'm just not convinced or whatever. So he already kind of started out the interview like having already taken a position, which is fine. He's allowed to do that, no problem. Especially if it's like his friend's friend or whatever. Like I could see how that could be what happened. Then they're talking about the devil. Then they kind of move on and they're talking about the Tylenol. He said something along the lines of I don't know about all those other allegations. The only thing that seemed kind of interesting to me was the stuff about the Tylenol. Could you get into that? And then she kind of shifts in her seat and she's like, well, I think we should start from the beginning because people are going to be really confused if they don't know who I am or they don't know the story. And then Adam's like, yeah, true. Start from the beginning.
And, I didn't lie about it.
Because
but that's a
you
different
said that there
story.
was only Tylenol in her system, and then that part got edited out of the interview. That was one thing that I managed to catch from some of the exposed videos about you that actually sounded like it was interesting. Is that not true?
Okay. So when should we start from the beginning? Because
Yeah,
I think that
yeah.
everybody's going to be totally lost
This is true.
if they don't know what exactly happened.
Hydralazine.
Yeah, okay. So
And then so I don't want to minimize it because she talks about some very serious stuff, but it is very confusing to me why that's what she talked about right there. But it was her story and her shot. And so she starts all the way back when she's a little girl and she starts detailing some very traumatic instances of abuse. And, that's nothing to laugh at. And I'm very sorry that anyone at all, especially a little child, would have to go through something like that. So I'm not here to make any fun of that. But she kind of starts, the question was about Tylenol, and she went all the way back to being a little girl and recounting these really horrific things happening. And it's like, I can hold space for the one, right? And say that's horrible and that shouldn't have happened and all that. But that doesn't go to the beginning of the question about the Tylenol. And so I didn't really understand why that's the specific set point that she wanted to start her retelling of the start of it, but that was her choice, fine. Then after that, she's talking about how she's trying to get Aura off the ground back in 2019, and she had had another company before, and she went to this like Shark Tank type thing, and the plane ticket costed $80. And I mean, we're just going and going, and I'm waiting to hear about Tylenol. And then she says that she faced like a lot of discrimination as a CEO, and she would take these meetings with these creeps. And at one such time, this creep did something very creepy. I'll let her explain it. And it's very, very rude and interesting to me that, y'all, I can't even, like, I don't even know how, I feel like I should just put it up here and as the demonstration. I can't even explain it. Like, in the middle of her retelling of this awful thing, right? That she's trying to like be this young woman in business and start her own thing and all this, and like this creepy man in a position of power, according to, you know, her story, her telling of it, he takes advantage of that in a way, right? And y'all can hear her say it. And right in the middle of her telling that story, Adam's like, "Oh, that sucks," or whatever, like very like non-responsive. And then right in the middle of that whole retelling, or maybe it was right after it, but right by when she told that story, the only advertisement that plays in the whole hour and 42-minute, 44-second long video, the only one, pops up, and it's like, Adam, like, I know you would never watch, but in case you do, you need this VPN. And then at the end of the ad, he goes, "Don't let anyone catch you with your pants down."
You don't want to be caught literally with your pants down.
So then it just cuts right back to her telling the story, and we're back on track. So then we're going, and we're back on track. Yeah, and she's still telling the story, yeah. Not of that specific thing, but like the story, the start from the beginning, like the whole episode, because she never gets back to the Tylenol. I mean, and y'all, as I always say, I encourage y'all to go watch it and you tell me, but like they do mention medications in the system for the first time. She admits there's more than Tylenol in the system. Maybe the first time she admitted it was Mark Leta. I don't know. I'd have to go and compare the notes, but which I have time-stamped and marked, color-coded. And she goes back to the story, whatever. And basically the whole gist of her story is, here's all the reasons why I've had hardships. And she describes lots of them. And then it seems like she's trying to convince you at the end that, you know, because of her hardships and because she's worked hard, that we shouldn't question her or we shouldn't be allowed to or something like that. And in the meantime, they talk about me and stuff like that. But along this overarching journey, we have several detours and pit stops, one of which was the one that I just mentioned about when she was a little girl, and then whenever she was trying to take these business meetings and she was trying to, you know, get investors and things like that. And then she goes to this Shark Tank of sorts, pays $80 for a ticket, lots of details. I'm waiting for Tylenol. And then she kind of finds a mentor, and he tells her that her business plan sucks. And basically she's making a very strong case that Aura was doomed from the very beginning, because she said she couldn't even raise money and she didn't even have a business plan when she started this business. So it's like, okay, maybe that had something to do with the state of where your business is right now. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a licensed attorney. So then she gets to this point in the story where she's describing events that happened around Thanksgiving of 2020. Now, we do timelines over here. So Lima starts describing events that took place in the fall around Thanksgiving of 2020. Now, because we do timelines on this channel, color-coded, marked, and time-stamped, we also know there were other big things happening in 2020. In 2020, that was the same year that Lima appeared on Mark Leta's channel for the first time as the CEO of Aura. The same year she announced that scholarship is what they called it. And apparently that's what they call it in the industry, which I find very weird. I find it very weird that they call that a scholarship, but they do call it that. And it was the same year that Amanda got put into court-ordered treatment in California and then transferred to Nevada.
Located in the premier destination city of Las Vegas, Desert Hope is part of the American Addiction Center's family of treatment facilities. This gorgeous facility features a combination of elegant beauty along with modern charm. A tranquil setting with a highly dedicated clinical and medical staff Desert Hope provides an abundance of services to ensure the restoration and balance of mind, body, and spirit.
Oh my God!
Your care, well-being, and ultimate recovery is the primary goal at Desert Hope. Upon your arrival, you will be greeted by our friendly and highly trained staff.
No matter what time of day or night it is, we admit 24 hours a day. So if they are here at 2 o'clock in the morning, they'll come through the door, they'll be greeted by reception, and we'll have a nurse meet them immediately. And part of our licensure is that they have to be evaluated by a nurse first thing to see if they're appropriate for our level of care.
So on day one, we want to make sure that we understand everything about what's happening. We want to understand from a nursing perspective and a medical perspective what's going on in terms of health. We're absolutely interested in making sure that whatever the addiction is understood backwards and forwards, and we can begin to treat that.
So the same year, now she's describing going through another very horrible and traumatic time for her in her life. And I would like to reiterate, it did sound traumatic, and I can understand why she was stressed. I could definitely understand how that could lead you to make those types of decisions, have those types of thoughts. Nothing but compassion over here, okay? But it does raise questions, and just because you have compassion and empathy for someone in a situation doesn't mean that you abandon your search for the truth. So we have to look at the facts. Lima twice appeared publicly and made statements that amount to, if you are having self-harm ideations or exhibiting behaviors that you are actually doing that to yourself, you know, the SUI word, then you should not be allowed to make your own decisions. Someone else should be able to come in, legally be granted the decision-making power over you because you are making decisions that hurt someone else, even though that someone else is you. She said that twice. She said it once in July 2021 on the In It podcast. She said it also in May 2021 on the Meet Kevin show.
You have to force it. It has to be a choice of the state. You have to force it.
Okay.
You have to.
Lima, I think I may have lost you there. Maybe in the comments.
So I know that Lima has said these things and that she appears or she purports to espouse those beliefs. So if she says and believes that someone who's expressing SUI thoughts and tendencies and actually going out of their way to do actions to take the steps to do it, they shouldn't be allowed to make their own decisions. And then she, on this YouTube channel now, is saying that she against those thoughts, desires, impulses. She explains the whole story, and a lot of people gave her a hard time because she was laughing, but I don't even honestly think that that's bad. I don't necessarily think that that's bad because I believe that people should be allowed to express themselves however it comes naturally to them, and I don't necessarily think because she was giggling and laughing that means she is not telling the truth. I have no reason to believe she wasn't telling the truth. We live in capitalism, baby. Dog eat dog. I've been there, you've been there, and it doesn't surprise me at all to find out that Lima has also been there. I have nothing but understanding on that front. But I cannot help but notice, and I feel an obligation to point out, Lima is being hypocritical because she's not following the rules for herself that she has set for other people. Bam, Amanda that we know of. I suspect maybe Dahlia and Dia, but we don't know. She said herself that she's worked with many other clients, so we can only speculate. But she's said it twice, that if you are experiencing those thoughts and tendencies and you're in that state that you're going to harm yourself in that particular way, you should lose your rights, you should lose your decision-making power, it should be given to someone else. But then what Lima described on this appearance on the No Jumper podcast is that Ivan did call the police. Lima gets dropped off at a bridge, and then Lima's, describing being on the bridge. She's describing realizing the bridge wasn't tall enough to effectuate her plan. And then she's talking about Ivan's whole family being at Thanksgiving, and that does make it stressful. She said it was their first Thanksgiving introducing to the family as husband and wife. And so I don't know if that's like means that was the first time she met them, which would mean like maybe they weren't at the wedding. I really don't know. She said she got married in 2019. So Thanksgiving 2020 is whenever she's at Thanksgiving, and she gets this Lyft driver and she says she doesn't want her jacket. She's not going to need it where she's going.
You know, my husband and I were fighting about money. I felt like I lost my sisters. I didn't know how I was going to maintain Amanda in treatment. Everything was just falling apart. I was like, I can't make payroll. I don't know how to tell my team. And so I took a Lyft to a bridge in downtown Chicago, and I left without my jacket, and I told my husband. He was trying to give me my jacket, and we were arguing the whole time, and I was like, I don't need it where I'm going. And he called the police because he kind of understood what I meant. And obviously his whole family's there. Super embarrassing. And then I got to the bridge, and I realized...
The Lyft driver's family was there?
No. My husband's whole family was there for Thanksgiving.
Right.
So we got married in 2019. Uh-huh. And this was like my Thanksgiving with his family as us being married. And this is like the introduction. And so I took a Lyft from the house because we were arguing, plus like all the other stress I had. I'm like,
to the bridge
in Chicago. And I'm like, I'm just going to kill myself. So I get to the bridge, and it's so low. And I'm like, if I jump off this thing, I'm going to survive. And then we're going to have helicopters. And then everyone's going to be like, mental health founder. I'll probably end up on the No Jumper Instagram account.
Yeah.
Mental health founder,
I can see that.
CEO jumps off the bridge, you know.
That's cool that you're so tapped in that you perceived the meme before it happened. Yeah.
The Lyft driver drives her to the bridge. She's talking about the whole family being there, and like the only interjection you get from Adam 22 at any point is,
wait, the Lyft driver's family was there?
And she was like, no, like Ivan's whole family was there. It was our first Thanksgiving, whatever. It was just really weird. And so like that interaction on his part. And so she says that she calls Ivan, he comes pick her up. They take her back to the house, and she stays locked and isolated in a bedroom for the next 3 days because she was too embarrassed to come out and answer to anyone, which all sounds like normal behaviors to me after something like that. Doesn't surprise me that that happened. But what you didn't see happen, for example, is 5 squad cars show up, surround her, point weapons at her, take her forcefully, violently against her will, sedate her, put her in a hospital against her will for 72 hours, or 48, 24, however many it is in that state. Didn't put her in a conservatorship, didn't put her in a guardianship. And I couldn't help but notice the whole time that whole ordeal was playing out, Amanda Rabb was in court-ordered treatment in an ARA facility that Lima had taken on personal responsibility with. The government of California, the judiciary of California, had taken a personal financial responsibility for this woman's health care. And all of that was going on. She couldn't pay for it, according to her. And she was about to end her own life over it, which I think, again, is understandable, like that she got into that place. But how dare she be a firsthand experiencer of some moments like that, of a day, of 3 days, of 4 days like that, and see that what worked for her, she's back on her feet. She's CEO. She's making all these appearances. It seems like she's gotten better since that incident. And the way she got better was not conservatorship or jail. The way she got better was to do it her way. Her husband came, picked her up, even though she just had embarrassed him in front of the family. You know what I mean? She experienced love. She received compassion. Out of the other side of her mouth, she says, you shouldn't be even allowed to make your own decisions if you find yourself in that state, because you're not in the place to make your own decisions. Well, not only was Lima making decisions for herself in that state, she was also making decisions for Amanda Rabb and her health care, her treatment, how to finance it, all that. She took responsibility for that and then found her own self in a place where, by her criteria, by her standards, she shouldn't be making her own decisions. And that was really the biggest thing that stood out to me from that interview. And then finally, almost as big, was the rhetoric and the rhetorical devices that both Adam and Lima had made in an attempt to discredit me and tear me down in this interview. And I also get accused of a lot of lies. Lima and Adam both take things that perhaps other people have said or perhaps no one's ever said, and they just say that I said it. Like, for example, that Lima is in the Illuminati. I have never said that. I have never said that. That Lima is in I've never said Lima is in I don't think I've ever even said those words because YouTube I've never even said the term on a YouTube ad, okay?
And it's literally gonna be beeped right now.
And it's gonna be beeped. So if this was just something like, oh, they called me names, I don't care, because I think name calling is below the belt. I think it doesn't address my arguments and it doesn't address what I'm saying. I never said I never said I said you lied about the cause of death because you did. You said the cause of death was marked as a seizure disorder. It was not. You never corrected yourself after finding out from the coroner that that was indeed not the cause of death. You never corrected it. You said there was nothing but Tylenol in her system. Albert Monero went on ahead and confirmed that on the Joel Marshall podcast. And yet, there was more than Tylenol in her system. And it wasn't just prescription unless cannabinoids were prescribed. Hydralazine, that don't sound like Tylenol. And that's really what I wish people would address. But you know what? You know what instead they're addressing? How I'm somehow Donald Trump tactics, me, high school drama, Alex Jones, Shane Dawson, and a liberal. And none of that gets to my point. And this is like the biggest other thing I wanted to talk about is the specific comment from Adam22 that I will not let go. If you've seen literally one video on this whole channel, it will not come as a surprise to you to know that I am a huge advocate for people doing what they want to do and saying what they want to say. And a big concern of mine and something I want to fight against is psychiatric incarceration. They have done it to people, women, men, everyone, children, everyone, for a very long time. As long as institutions have existed like prisons, they've been locking people up for being crazy, okay? They've changed the name here and there and everywhere, but we have a very long and robust history of incarcerating, confining, trafficking, experimenting on women and men who are accused of being crazy. It has happened. It's what happened to Britney Spears. Everybody thought she was crazy because she shaved her head. It's what happened to Amanda Bynes. It's what happened to Amanda Rabb. It's what happened to Bam Margera. People get it in their mind that the person is crazy, and then it is okay and socially acceptable to take away that person's liberty to walk around the free earth. So I had just about all I could take of Adam22. It's like approaching the end of the interview. And they've said all kinds of lies and slanders and defamation about me in this video. That's just not true. Adam says something along the lines of, yeah, these women, they should be locked up because they're sick in the f***ing head.
I think that there's a stark raving mad lunatic mob on the internet that's out to basically terrorize innocent civilians for content. And I think that a lot of these women should be locked up because they're sick in the fucking head. Sick in the fucking head. It'll be on board for the entirety of what I just said. Sick in the fucking head. But from what sick in the fucking head. But from what I could tell, this thing that we're discussing is like InfoWars for chicks.
This is just reputation destruction, like mean girl syndrome, high school drama. And it's the sad thing is, I mean, now a bunch of people are making videos about me using this girl's videos as a source, and it's spreading like wildfire. Bad news spreads faster than good news, but at the same time, you know, I can't remember what my point was.
And it's very interesting that the whole entire interview, everybody they chose to compare me to was a man. Alex Jones, Donald Trump, Shane Dawson, Trump tactics. Couldn't think not near one woman to compare me to. But then whenever you want to use my gender in a way against me, it's women like that should be locked up. Isn't that interesting? And I don't think it was intentional. That's the point. What's really hiding in there underneath all that? that women should be locked up. You know who should be locked up? Your f***ing daddy, that Bill Clinton pardoned in the late 90s for mail fraud that he pled guilty to. Sick in the f***ing head? How about using your position of power to unjustly enrich yourself off of the taxpayer's dime? Does that sound familiar? Grand Mason Jr.? Ringing any bells? Sick in the head because I said, hey, let's look into how this woman died because they're not telling us the truth publicly. Lock me up. And this is why I have both of the channels that I have, because it is all too easy in the land of the free and the home of the brave to lock somebody up because people think they're crazy. But you know what the reality is going to turn out to be? That the people who have been calling other people crazy this whole time are actually the ones in a minority, and they're actually fucking crazy ones. Thank God for them. We're not going to be the type of people that lock them up. Should be locked up. Guilty criminals in his family who have pled guilty in a position of governmental power, and I should be locked up? No, not today, Satan. So anyway, that was basically the gist of the whole interview. If you take two things away from this video. 1, hypocrisy. When people in a position of power, and yes, you are in a position of power whenever you have someone's health care in your hands. When people are in a position of power and they hold people beneath that power to certain rules, and then they themselves don't follow those rules when they find themselves in the same circumstance, just take note of that because it's hypocrisy. If you're asking me my opinion, I don't think Lima should have got locked up. I don't think y'all should joke about putting Lima in a conservatorship. I don't think it's funny. I think it's telling and it indicates something. And what it indicates to me is that she doesn't hold herself to the same very high standards that she's holding other people who are in much worse positions than her. They have no power and no voice, and she's not holding them to the same standard as herself. Just take note of that. The other thing I want y'all to take away from this is, look how easy it is for them to just slip it into a conversation exactly what they think. Women like that should be locked up because they're sick in the head. That says if you're sick in the head, according to Adam 22's criteria, you should be locked up. What does that entail? Taking away someone's ability to live as a free person because they're different than you in the head? I, for one, am grateful that not everyone's head is like the inside of Adam 22's, just from what I've seen so far. And whenever all that happened, when the podcast first came out, I felt like very disempowered because they were lying about me on a platform that was way bigger than anything that I have access to. And has had a lot of people go to bat for her on big platforms.
I have a ton of resources.
At first it was Mark. He has 3.75 million subscribers. Millions of people have seen the Amanda playlist in which Lima is included in those videos. Some videos alone that Lima's in have 2 million views. Then Steve-O mentions her and takes up for her in his podcast. That's another 1 million or 2. And then Bam on his Instagram page posts her, all that. She has all these people commenting on her stuff with the blue check marks and things. And then she went on Adam 22 with almost 5 million subscribers. Granted, I had never heard of him, but still, that's a huge audience. I know what 5 million means, or 4.8 or whatever it was. And then I started looking into like Adam Grand Mason and like his family, and his uncle was like one of Bill Clinton's earliest supporters in 1992. And then a bunch of people were saying like people go on that podcast and then they die. Like I didn't look into that, but that's a urban wives tale, folk tale going around. And people were like, yeah, like he has like pimps and gangsters on his thing. Like he, you know, obviously if he doesn't want you to go on there, whatever. So I had reached out to him and I'd said, if you want the full story, let me come on your, podcast, on your show and tell it. I'm happy to answer your questions and I can take it. I can take the questions. And he almost immediately replies and he's like, I can't take you seriously or something like that. I sent him another email and I was like, listen, I think you're gonna want me to come on. I want to come on. I actually want the truth to get out. I can set the record straight. You had questions about, me and things, like I want to come on and answer them. He never responded again. But after I started learning more about him and his podcast and just watching the episode again with Lima and all that, I just realized like I have no desire to be in that environment. Like I can't be around that like level of a vibration, and he's already has his mind made up. He doesn't want to be convinced. So I don't know. I definitely sent him another email and I was like, I have no doubt in my mind that you're going to change your mind and want me to come back on your podcast. I'm formally rescinding my offer to come on your channel because I think you are going to want me to come on eventually, and I do. I think he will, and I think he'll regret missing that opportunity. But I don't want to go on there and like, people have said like go on Steve-O, and I even was like down to do that at first, right? Like, yeah, I'll go on on Steve-O, I'll go on whatever. But it's like, why would I go on those low vibrational, like, I would never watch Steve-O's podcast for like any other reason besides I'm following this BAM story. So like, what in the hell do I have to say to Steve-O? Like, so that's all I really had to say for today's video. Facts ain't defamation. Love you, Minnie K. Bye.